All right. Today we're going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about Roth, a little bit of Roth conversions. We're going to talk about what kind of attitude that I have in retirement. So let's just start this out where we're at right now. Here's where we're at. The market's been a little rough last few days, but we'll talk about that a little bit the last couple weeks. And this is where we'll be at if everything goes as scheduled and to plan. Okay. So let's talk about Roth conversions first, what I plan on doing. So I have to do a couple of Roth conversions over the next couple of years. And so I want to do one for 165,000 this year, one for 165,000 next year. Now the reason why is I need that money to kind of cover my ACA when I need to get health care when my wife's not working. So this was, as you know, with Trump, they let expire the premium healthcare subsidies, which I was pretty much in agreement with. I mean, I was bummed, but it is what it is. So what was interesting is for me, I go out to this place called getcoverednj.com to go get my prices. So they'll put you through a couple of a couple of questions or whatnot, and then you go down here and you put your annual tax household income, what you're going to be making. So this is what really was pretty big, right? This is why I have to do those Roth conversions, because if I don't, I get hammered. So let's just put in, generally it's 4 times poverty level that you get federal help. So let's put in 80, 1, 2, 3. Well, actually, let's just put in 85, 1, 2, 3. And then go continue. And see, you'll see I get about, look at this, in Passaic County, you can get plans for, while you do not see, this is if I don't qualify. So, and this is a killer number, right? So I put in 85. So I'm going to hit next. Skip plans. This is nice. So you'll see. Look at this. I'm at like 2 G's a month for some of these lower end plans, right? With a $12,000 deductible, which isn't going to be horrible for us because we're relatively young. But mainly I'm buying this for catastrophic for the most part. But you'll see it's like $1,900 a month for 2 of us. And that's because I put in 85,000. Now watch what happens with this. This is why I have to do these conversions. So I can't remember whether, let's try 80. It actually tells you. So see, it says an estimated tax credit of 1602. Let's go 75. So that's 1602 for 80 and 1644. So it's relatively minimal. But if you cruise it here, same plans, radically cheaper, like radically cheaper. So as you can see, this is why it's so critical a couple years out. I even wish I had thought of this before I retired, but the problem is my stupid 401k wouldn't let me do any Roth conversions at 55. So the only thing you could do at 55 was divide it by 10 and take those payouts, or take a full payout. So I just took a full payout and I said I'll just take a little hit in a couple of years because that was 57. Now I'm 59. So you can see there's a radical difference here. So I've got to do these Roth conversions. So the other day I was looking at the Iran war and I was thinking, this may be a perfect time to do a Roth conversion. Again, I warn you right up front, this is not financial advice for you. You got to make your own decisions. But this was just what was going on in my head. So I was like, well, when's a good time to do a Roth conversion? A good time for me to do a Roth conversion is when the market is down, because then I know I'm kind of getting taxed at my lowest potential revenue. So ideally, because I've never been big on timing the market, ideally you get something where it's a point in time for almost a certain limited amount of time where the market will be down, but you're almost sure the market will go up again. So that to me fit the bill. I was like, oh, wow. Now, I'm sure everyone has their own opinion. I have some wavering opinions too. But I think it's a pretty decent argument that we're not going to be in the Iran war for a long time. Whether it's truly going to be effective in the long run, nobody really knows. And we're not going to get into that from a political angle. Either way, it could be a coin flip. If it's the timing's right, then it could have been awesome. Timing's wrong, could have just been a monumental waste of money. And what's the wrong for? Just inspired them to be more aggressive. But we don't really know. So, but my point is, no matter what, it's going to be a limited time. I don't think Trump's going to let it go for that long. So, and I think the pressure of the American public will get him to do it. So my first thought was, oh, now's a great time to do my Roth conversion because the market's down and it's a discrete point in time where I know this event is probably causing it. I know there's the AI bubble too, but for those of you who were there during the internet bubble, the AI bubble just doesn't even seem to be comparing to the internet bubble, which could be a whole nother video. So I was about to do it, and I mean I went into to Grok and said, hey, how much has it come down since we started the war? So it's 2.65% on the S&P 500, 1.37% on the Nasdaq. So I was like, hey, how does that translate for me? And that would translate for me. I took my $165,000 Roth conversion, multiplied it by about 2.65%, translates into 4,500 bucks for me. All right, not like a huge amount. And then you probably got a little bit of the AI perceived bubble going on there. So probably, I don't know, another 2, 3 grand. But I was like, now is the time to strike. I thought, you know what? I'll do it. The problem was, and right, I was getting ready to call as I had done this. I was getting ready to call my not my broker, but the guy who in my 40, not in my IRA rep, and it hit me. I'm not 59 and a half, so I was like, ugh. It's like they would have been. I'm sure they would have warned me of that 10% penalty. So I was kind of bummed, but it's an interesting time, right? It's like I was really gonna do it. I was just like, this is perfect. I'm pretty confident this will be a limited amount of time. I think everyone's got plenty of stockpiles of oil. The Hormuz Strait is killing us, obviously, because they've stopped it. But anyhow, so I will wait for my next discrete event. Maybe it'll happen this year. I mean, I have to convert this year because I have to do 165 this year, 165 next year for a total of like 350, and then I'll use that to get me over the 4 years. Um, the 4 years when my wife's not working, and then I'll be getting her pension, her Social Security, and then I'll take this 300. Let's see, 165, 153, what was it, 330? Yeah, 330,000, and I'll use that over 4 years to bump up whatever we're getting so we can live on that and keep our premiums, our healthcare premiums low. So just an interesting thought. It's one of those moves where if you step back and do the money, you kind of go for it. Same with my car. I was getting 18,500 for my Challenger, and my 2015 Challenger kind of took away the whole emotional piece of it and said, well, seems like good money, so let's do it. Okay. So I just thought that'd be interesting for you guys, and noodle on it. Tell me what you think in the comments. Number two is, what kind of attitude should you have in retirement? And my attitude is pretty much, whenever I'm thinking of something, is what's a good reason not to do it? And I will tell you, I almost say this every day. So I was never really in college. I was into working out, and you can tell it's not like I'm in great shape or anything. But I've the last couple of years since retiring, I've been working out in my neighbor's garage because we have free weights and stuff like that. There, we have some nice, the is it not cast iron, whatever, the big metal free weights, and an Olympic bar and a bench and all that good stuff. So I do that 3 days a week, and then 3 days a week I do 2.25 miles on the treadmill. And basically, what I have to do almost every time I do that is I have to look at myself mentally and say, what's a good reason not to do it? And generally, there's never a good reason not to do it. Just asking yourself that all the time. Even where my wife and I are going to Alaska, it was a chance to go with some friends. It was a little more expensive than we'd originally planned on, just because we were planning on doing that later, because we're going on a cruise. But then again, I asked myself, well, what's a good reason not to do it? And it kind of makes you go through and analyze, well, all right, are there any good reasons not to do it? And if there aren't any really good, compelling reasons, then you do it. Same with retirement. So the problem I see with retirement is a lot of people, well, maybe I'm wrong. I think a lot of people could retire, but they never put a plan together. So it's back to that. What's my reason for not retiring? And for me, my job was so bad, and I was looking at the plan. I was using Boldin. I was using Right Capital, and there was just no reason not to look at the plan, or not to do it. Like, I was looking at this. I'm like, well, what am I going to have at the end? I was going to Insights. Let's see. I got to press this thing. I was looking at another thing that I like to do. I'll just show you this. Just hopefully I don't get in trouble. Sometimes I get in trouble. Hopefully Right Capital won't get mad at me. But I'll show you. I used to use this for Right Capital all the time. I would go into Right Capital and I would go to retirement. And then I would go to cash flows. I use this all the time. I love this thing. I would go to accounts. And I know there's probably an equivalent screen for this for Boldin, but I use this more than that. And literally I went in here and I said, okay, Steve, making sure that all your I'll do a video on expenses again, but making sure that all your expenses are realistic. You've taken tons of time to kind of look into the future and try and figure out what your expenses will be. You haven't trimmed them. You're giving yourself plenty of margin. And then you just kind of start to realistically look at this thing and you go, all right, Steve, what's a good reason not to retire? Is it because I want to make more money? Is it because I want to maybe work 3 more years so that we can buy a shore house? I don't know. That wasn't a priority for me. Is it so we could, you just fill in the blanks? Is it because I'm not feeling secure in this? But at the end, I would go into this and say, listen, Steve, if I looked at you, said, hey, with and conservative investment assumptions, not crazy ones, and my conservative are pretty conservative, like 4 or 5%. If my savings accounts never drop below 1.7 million, is that a good enough reason to retire? And the answer for me was a resounding yes. I was losing my mind. I was very unhappy. Um, and so it's again, what's a good reason not to retire? And I kept trying to fill in the blanks. And really, the only realistic one I had was to buy a shore house. And you know what? For me to get a shore house, it was just it's kind of a hassle. They're kind of a hassle because if you want to rent them out, and just how often would we go down there? And so for me, it wasn't important. And how many years did I have to work? Because for us to get a really nice, like we would need a nice shore house. We're at the age where we're not going to live in some little small nothing. I would need at least $1 million. So that told me I was going to have to work at least another 5, 6 years to do it. Because every time I did the financial modeling, um, I kind of need to be able to pay it outright for it to really work well and make me even a little bit of money. So it's just in summary. So that's just kind of like it's a good attitude to have in retirement when you're looking at something. Are there any compelling reasons not to do the thing I'm doing or that I want to do? And basically, it gets me up and gets me working out or doing the treadmill almost. Like I said, I do it 6 days a week, almost 6 days a week, and I'm always asking myself that question. So hope that helps. Hope it adds value to your retirement or your retirement plans. And I'll talk to you later. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe. Later.